So in keeping with the beginner aircraft being simple paint jobs and simple builds, I don't make them any more complicated than this. It's got 4 struts inside. This is actually an intermediate build. It has a complex shave that is an ellipse. It's a tough little wing to build, but not really. It's a reverse swept bottom wing that's actually mounted forward. And this is a nicely swept forward wing that's set back. And it's a really nice combination, guys. It works really well together. This one flew awesome and earned itself a place among the 23 designs that I've done so far and glide tested half of those. This one stood out along with, well, to be honest, all of them have glided really, really well. And so much so that I basically just had to pick my favorite wings, and I wanted to do 3, 4 small biplanes. That's what's done now. This is going to be the next stage of the paint job for this aircraft, and we're going to need black. We are not going to need our brush because all of the things I want to do with this are, well, you'll see. I'm going to do black and I'm going to do silver, guys. I'm also only going to use my sponge. Now that might seem strange, but that is the truth. And so here we go with our black. And I won't need much because of what I'm doing. But as I've showed now in other videos, just going to get the last of the water out of this sponge on my shirt. It's always really good to get all the water out of your sponge. You'll also notice I've done 2 coats of paint on this without putting this away or cleaning it or anything like that. I left it out because I knew it was only going to be a few minutes in between coats. I've done 3 now. It looks pretty good. It's good to go. So now I'm going to take my black, but I only want to do it on one corner. And believe it or not, I want it to be this one, the wide edge. Now, if you're wondering where to get these, they're available in any dollar store. We'll have these. So now I'm going to come in pretty deep and pretty hard because I want a thick line. Okay, guys? And I'm going to just push it in and drag it across. And where it's not even, I'm going to go back over it. I can correct that later or go in and make the line bigger. In either case, you're going to end up having to correct it. But as I said, I do want this to be a big line. So I'm not going to be shy about that. But again, if you don't have the right amount of paint, it's not going to go well. So it's always good to give yourself a good amount of paint because I actually want a nice thick black line in here all the way around. Like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the bottom wing while I have it here, give it the exact same treatment, and I'm going to give you a bit of a teaser here because the reason we're doing this, in other videos, I have showed you how to make this kind of a line on both sides, and we're going to do that here. I'm going to try and make it neat, but it's very hard, very, very hard to make it neat the first time, guys. And if I push it all the way over, look at that. You can do that. Watch this. It's kind of why I did it. I'm going to show you this and then I'll do it right and then you'll see. A little bit of saliva, fresh cloth, and look at that. This acrylic paint is great for this, guys. Now I've just applied this, so I'm probably doing myself a disservice, but I did want to make a point of showing you guys that you can pretty much get rid of all of that if you're careful, guys. Okay? And just kind of keep chasing it off of there. And there you go. I've gotten pretty much all of that off. Isn't that cool? So if you decide you don't like it, you can always remove it. But the reason I'm doing this is because I actually do want a nice fat line all the way around, but I want it even as I can get it, and I can correct it later. But for now, just try and put it on even, guys. And usually how you can do that is by looking at this edge right here, the leading edge, and just keep working that leading edge where you want it to be and draw the paint down, and you'll see it'll come out all right. Now the reason we're doing this way is because I also want to do a line of white, but I want that line to be a very thin line, and I still want the black to be visible after it's laid down. Wow, look at that. I did not do the best job in the world there. But this is why I tell you, you have to have enough paint on here. Because if you don't, no matter how much you leaned over, it's not going to help your cause one bit. And now I want to lean over more and really form that line. I believe in doing it twice when it comes to this, so you can gauge what your line is going to be like and figure out where you need to put your pressure harder and stuff. That's good enough for now, okay? I'm going to adjust it later, but for now I just want to get the line. And honestly, the more careful you are, the better. So I'm just going to come in here and do a line. And I know I need it to be deeper than that, so I'm going to do it a little harder. I'm seeing it's not quite as far down here as it should be. So I'm going to try and bring that line down a little, but if it gets stubborn, don't worry about it. Just continue your line. I'm going to do the same thing here and continue a line. Draw this one down nice and hard to make a good stiff edge, and I'll bring this one over the same because I want all these lines to be pretty thick. You'll see why when we're done. It won't look bad. But in the end, if you do it like this, it'll be a lot easier to finish this build because we're going to go over these again, but we're going to go over them with white to make the outer trim. And it's going to have a nice classic kind of look to it when it's done because we're going to do it all the way around the aircraft and on all the control surfaces. And it'll have a nice look. But we have to do these lines thick enough that the white has a place to be and not totally strip away all the black, which is a pain. It means these need to be pretty darn big. And then I need to go in here later with a brush and touch that up. But that gives you very little actual brush work to do. And if you do this work perfectly the first time, I found that you can actually do it so well that you won't need to go in with the brush. It'll look really good just the way it is, and you can just do it. So we got that. Now we're going to go here and we're going to do the exact same thing on both those edges. Okay, like that and like that. And I could have even left that little tiny line there because it looked sick. But I actually want a nice fat line with lots of paint on it. And then I'm going to go over it again if I have to make it nice and even. And if I have to do it more than one coat, I will. But look at that, I screwed that right up. That's too bad. But that happens sometimes. And I can, believe it or not, correct it with the exact same method, guys. I can just take it back and redo it. And then touch up the silver later, or the black, or whatever. In this case, the silver's coming off because it wasn't quite ready for me to do this video and show you guys. I should have waited another 10 minutes, but I didn't. One of the reasons I do rush this is because it's the most common mistakes people make are because of rushing, and I happen to be a classic case. I like to just get it done, and I don't like to mess around. And I find that keeping these videos short is the best thing I could do. Is truthfully, guys, that's why I do it. I'm rushing like crazy when I normally wouldn't be, and it's because of this. I really want to get it nice for you guys, so I'll take my time and I'll make it kind of nice. But in the end, I will fix that, and you will never know when this is done. So now that the black outer line is done, we're going to set this aside, and I'm going to let it dry for a long time because this is now a fairly thick coat of paint. A sponge will put on a fair bit of paint, and I didn't stop it from doing that because I want to be able to do it in one coat. But look at this. This is what happens when you don't wait long enough, guys, or when you try and tape. See that? This is horrible, horrible. But no big deal. I just have to put a new coat of silver on it and then go from there. But even close up, this doesn't look bad, guys. And once I correct it with a brush, it'll look pretty good. And in the end, That's what counts. I mean, the fact that I can get it to be this good this fast is what really gets me to want to show you guys this method, because it really doesn't take long to make it good, and good enough that you'll be like, oh, that's good enough right there. You know what I mean? For a lot of people, they just paint it this way and do it. But I'm also going to do my tail surfaces that way, and I'm going to stop here. Put another coat of silver on that after I've done my tail surfaces, wait for that to dry, then put more on it. When it's done to that step, I'll be back and I'll just show you guys where it's at from there, because it's just easier. This will be too long of a video for no point, now that I have to correct that. So it's cool. I was going to continue like I usually do and do these control surfaces the exact same way. It's the exact same technique. Just do them with the sponge. It works out awesome, guys. Then touch it up with a brush after. That is now my go-to technique because it works awesome. However, for doing inside of these, if I wanted to do those, in this case, I'm not. I'm not going to touch the inside. I'm just going to leave it silver. And that little bit of black on the outside, I'll put them black, actually, come to think of it. And on the inside, I'll leave them silver. And that'll be a nice contrast, and it'll go with the whole thing. But I won't do the whole thing in black. I'll just do the outer edge in black. It'll be a nice little lip, and then silver inside, and it'll look sick. The inside ones will be just silver. That being said, it's almost done. Once these are treated that way, and they have their black rim that's nice and thick, then I will go on to the white, and I will make the little thin white rim around that, and doing the same technique, which is why you want to use the thinner end of the sponge for that one, so it has less material to wrap around in the first place. So when you look at the sponge, it's got a thicker end, and then it's got a thinner end. These sponges come in your standard dollar store paint kit, guys. So I highly recommend that. You'll have the brushes you need for $2 or $3, and you'll also have the sponges. Keith out.